No, it works. It just works on the radio. So that's why I'm my plan. But good morning. Welcome to Community Coffee. This is our legislative exit issues. So we've got lots of stuff going on today and lots of stuff to talk about. We've got Dr. Carl Newton here today. We've got Peyton Burns here today, field representative for Langford, and we've got Nathan Defloff here, field representative for Lucas. So we will be hearing from them, but before we do that, we want to do community updates. Because we don't always start out with community updates. A lot of times we will wait until the end for community updates, but sometimes, just sometimes, the legislative goes a little bit longer than we expected. And we don't want you all to miss out on
here.
we don't want you all missing out on anything local. So we want to make sure and allow you all, if you have anything going on, to shout that out, but also to put out what's in our newsletter. So I'm just going to pull out my phone here because it's got my newsletter. You don't subscribe to it. And not only subscribe to it, you can do that at alvaok.net, but also open it.
There's a lot in there. And a lot
you can subscribe,
yes.
but if you don't open it, it doesn't do anything.
Every week there's something new. And if you are not submitting to us, put your flyers in there, please do.
And we're constantly trying to just go out on social media and see what is happening in case something has not been submitted to us so that we can put that in our newsletter and on our community calendar. So
go.
Okay, go. Let's see. To finish out this week, of course, right after this is the Data Center Fact and Fiction Community Talk with Jay Scheidler. And is that going to be right here in this room, Jeremy?
It'll be in the seminar room.
Okay, it's going to be in the seminar room. So if you are curious about that, go into the seminar room right after this.
And it's at 9 o'clock, so that's where we're moving back.
No, we're like, let's go, let's go. Yes.
Okay, then,
It's not loading. Oh, okay.
okay, 10 o'clock. We have the senior challenge out at the fairgrounds. So, you want to say anything about that?
Barbara, support your favorite team.
All right. So this is competitive games involving 8 to 11 area nursing homes, and it is at the fairgrounds. So that's going to be from 10 to 2, sponsored by Beatles. So go out and check that out tonight at Alva Beer Co. If you all, my goodness, the live music scene here in Alva has just been lifted up, and that has been so cool. So make sure that you go and support those live music events that are happening. At ABC tonight is Travis Linville, and that's at 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow night, out at the Nightlight, the opener is Cam Allen for William Clark Green. Now, if you will go ahead and purchase those tickets ahead of time, you're going to save yourself a few bucks. You can purchase at the door, but
Get out there and see the music.
yeah, Ben has something to say. Okay, what's up?
Am I interrupting?
Well, maybe. Yeah.
I'll only do a second.
Okay.
Did you want to finish that sentence?
Now we can't remember what.
Go buy your tickets for the Nightlight.
Got it. Very good. Very good. Good morning, everyone. Just a brief announcement. We are live streaming on KALB Radio and on KALBradio.com. And after you get out of here, you can go to Facebook and to YouTube, and we're recording also. That's the camera, so when you're getting your coffee and you're standing in front of it, it's kind of tough. Marianne is covering everything as Marianne does. What an incredible job. And my final announcement is at 11 o'clock on Thursday mornings on KALB 99.5, you will hear the most mature and latest morning show in the free world. And she is here today, ladies and gentlemen, working without a net from the big show, Rose and Ben. Here's Rosen.
So make sure that you go tune into KALB also. Speaking of KALB, we have a chamber chat every Monday, unless it's on Wednesday. So that's just what happens. On Sunday, we've got a silent auction at the Methodist Church. Silent auction, Sunday lunch. So if you're looking for a place to go eat after church on Sunday, there is a silent auction there. And then the Little Red
Little Red
Hens
Hens Scholarship Team tea party is also on Sunday.
So, I'm sorry,
Oh, and then banquet, so yes, I'm the president of the banquet board, but I don't really get to vote. So the chamber, not me, applied to be a banquet community vision for this next quarter so that we can beef up our Christmas even more because we had such good success with that. So if you want a banquet for the Alva Chamber Christmas, please do so at any of your local banks.
of course, there are tons of classes that are going on out here at Northwest Tech. That's also in our newsletter. Great classes happening at Graceful Arts as well. We always have those in the newsletter. So next week, we want to go ahead and shout that out for next week. Of course, there's blood drives happening at Shore Medical Center as well as Northwestern. On Thursday,
Some Heritage Bank is having their grand opening, so please stop by at 2 o'clock so you can join us for a photo and some food and cookies. And we're giving away a big giant ice chest with our new logo. Our sign just went up down there at the corner by McDonald's, and we're happy about that. So come celebrate with us.
also on Thursday is the musical at Northwestern. They have been working very hard this semester. I did see Erin. There she is. Erin walked in.
She did offer to
So
sing
she-
part of the
yes.
musical for this gig, and we're like, we're gonna run over on time because you know who's talking. So I told her maybe not.
Yeah, so, but make sure that you do go check that out. The students have been working hard on that. That's going to be at 7 o'clock on Thursday, Friday, and at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And then also this next week, we
Mural
have
Fest.
Mural Fest.
Yeah, not Fall Fest.
Yeah.
Mural Fest. So there's gonna be a 5K. There's gonna be stuff downtown on Friday the 24th. They look like they've really expanded this event, so it looks like a good one. We're getting 2 new murals, and we're very, very excited about that.
And then there's free activities for the kiddos. At Alva Co, they're doing a stick horse race, and then you can also register for a 5K run. The Evan Pops is going to be downtown for inflatable fun. Box Music is going to be playing music, so you can go meet the artists. That's a really cool thing if you haven't ever gone to watch the muralist paint. So go watch paint dry. I don't know. It's fun. It actually is really nice. I enjoy it. Watching it come to life. So.
And more music.
Yeah,
at the
more
Beer-
music next weekend at the Beer Co. And
and then the MS Walk is also next Saturday.
yeah, so that is brief rundown, very quick
Anybody
rundown
else have anything?
of what's going on.
Okay.
Softball tournament that is at the rec center on the 25th as well.
Hey, get out there and watch the people at the rec club. They're bringing in bukus of people to our town, and it's really great stuff. Anybody else?
Baseball is happening at Northwestern this weekend as well. I think that's on Saturday and Sunday. Doubleheader on Saturday, and then on Sunday afternoon. Anything else going on? Okay, so we'll stop rambling and we'll hand the mic over to you. Yeah, I assume it's you.
By the way, it's changed now. It used to be coffee and comments, but now it's coffee, community coffee, eggs and issues. So I'm going to catch up on the title here. So it was definitely a full breakfast over there. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank
So
you,
I'm,
Haley, for that. She
Haley.
made that. Haley, you did
Yes.
looks great. So I'm going to call on Congressman Lucas's representative, Nathan Deathlock. You'll come on up here, and I'll let you talk first, and then we'll pick on Peyton Burns, and then I'll get started on state issues.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Newton. I always, being the less senior of the two, I always draw the short straw, so I have to open. But I'm really excited about this. Follow my notes today. Just want to make sure we get everything right today. So, Farm Bill 2.0. Last summer, we passed a big appropriations package, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that funded all of our Farm Bill provisions, raised index crop prices, funded NRCS. But what we have to do now is make sure we modernize all of our programs. Ag Extension, Farm Credit, Ag Research, all of those things that are not nearly as flashy but are still really important to do. We're adding those in a Farm Bill supplemental package, planning on having that on the floor in the House by the end of April. We'll see if the Senate ends up being able to hear it this year, but that's one of Mr. Lucas's biggest goals. And if you've ever heard me talk or heard him talk, something that's near and dear to our hearts. Within that Farm Bill 2.0, there's going to be a piece of legislation that adds the Secretary of Agriculture to the Committee on Foreign Investments. So essentially, anytime there's a company that's looking to, a foreign company that's looking to buy a U.S. company, whether it's a bank, whether it's ag land, whether it's any of those kinds of big investments, it has to go through a review board to where there's folks who sit there and say, okay, this isn't a threat to national security. There's no military components, there's no financial components, there's no industrial risk that we're putting ourselves at. But currently, there's no permanent agriculture voice on that board. And if you've been around agriculture or been around Oklahoma at all, you know that what was it, 5-6 years ago, whenever we passed medical marijuana, we had all these marijuana grows pop up from everyone from Russians to Chinese to all sorts of nefarious actors buying up ag land. This is just a small example of how we can prevent that at the federal level. And at the federal level, it looks a little bit different. It looks like people buying land next to military bases. It looks like people buying land in those kinds of areas. And so while those things have really been cut down on, Congress has taken action. Dr. Newton and the legislators done an incredible job of making sure those things don't happen. We want to ensure that there is a permanent ag voice anytime we're talking about foreign investments in the United States. Other two bills we're running right now, FDIC deposit limits. We're looking to increase those. Right now, we have a legislation to do that. Right now, for an individual, I believe it's $250,000 for a business. Don't quote me on the business, but I think it's like right under $1 million. And so, if you're banking with Alva State Bank, or you're banking with your local bank,
Wisdom Heritage Bank.
Wisdom Heritage Bank, absolutely. Thank you for that plug. If you're banking with Wisdom Heritage Bank, it doesn't take a whole lot to get a payroll over $1 million if you're a smaller company. And so being able to have that money insured, being able to make sure that money supported, and keeping community banks competitive and keeping community banks able to compete with those bigger banks, those Bank of Americas, those Chase, those Wells Fargos. That's something that we really value and we need to do for rural Oklahoma. So we're excited to be running that kind of legislation. The final thing I have today is the Protect Taiwan Act. That's something that Mr. Lucas has sponsored for the last 2 or 3 years. And what it would do is if China invades Taiwan, it would remove them from the G20, it would remove them from the Bank and International Settlement Group, it would remove them from the Financial Stability Board. So essentially what this legislation would do is if China decides they want to act like a pariah state, they'll be treated like a pariah state in terms of financial markets. You can't be aggressive towards sovereign nations and also hope to be able to access capital and access groups where countries that play fair and respect others are. So that's kind of the 3 big pieces of legislation that we're running right now. Super excited for the upcoming legislative session. And the thing about Congress is Dr. Newton's got to wrap it up right now. We're in 9 months out of the year, so there's always things moving. So super excited to catch you guys afterwards and answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Peyton Burns, Senator Langford's field representative for Northwest Oklahoma. I'll be brief. I know Carl probably needs about 40 minutes to get done. So I'll just touch on one thing briefly. We're in the midst of a DHS shutdown still, and resolving those issues. The senator is going to keep touting that. First off, he thinks government shutdowns are dumb and don't accomplish anything. He has a bill out there that he's been pushing for. I've been working on for several years now, but believes he's very close to getting it across the finish line, especially with how ridiculous the last couple shutdowns have been. It's called the Prevent Government Shutdowns Act. What it would do is, when a lapse in appropriation occurs, it would have a trigger a 2-week continuing resolution that would keep the government open for 2 weeks, reoccurrence. And while that is while the government's being funded by that continuing resolution, no member of Congress can travel outside of D.C., whether it's on official or campaign travel. There's 2 things. One of the most important things to everyone, obviously, is time, and it's very valuable. So if you take away their time and force them to work and accomplish some of those issues, you'll resolve government shutdowns a lot quicker. And also will tout with all of that, that the only thing that they could put on the floor would be appropriation bills. So they're not going to be able to work on other issues. They have to focus on getting the government funded first. So I wanted to tout that. Again, if you guys have any questions for me, and if we need to, I'm here to gather information and just listen to y'all and hear what y'all have to say. So I'll be happy to catch you afterwards and talk more. So thank y'all for having me. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to be back in northwest Oklahoma. So let me catch you up where we're at in the session. Right now, we are at, just finished our 11th week, okay? So we are looking at all Senate bills right now. So in committee, we ran, I think my committee ran 60 Senate bills through our, no, it was 45 Senate bills through my committee this week. So if I don't know all your Senate bills, I'm sorry. I haven't seen them on the floor yet. House bills are sitting on the Senate. So that's where we're in the process. We expect to be out, a lot of them think by the end of April. Not going to happen. But I would not be surprised after the first week in May or the second week in May. You say, well, why are they in such a hurry? Well, we have a budget done, which is the first time I've ever heard it be done this quick. We have a lot less ego in the room, and the governor's leaving, so he doesn't have as much say in the long play. I mean, that was kind of funny to me. What was his biggest ask in the budget? Did you guys hear what that was? Anybody?
Plane.
What?
Plane.
A plane, that's right. The biggest thing he wanted was a plane.
Wasn't that the first thing he did when he took office?
First thing he got rid of was the plane, yeah. And so, but it will be a plane that him and ODOT will share, Oklahoma Department of Transportation, because they cover a lot of the area. And so it will be a new plane. They'll trade that plane in that they have over there and put this one in place a bit. So it's not just an additional plane. So it was a necessary item that he requested, which is unusual for him. Also, we requested a 2% budget cut on all the agencies, and he said, no, they've done a good job. So in other words, even he sees that we've been pretty frugal with our money to the agencies. So one of the things in the budget I want to talk about is water. Water, as you guys know, is really big on my heart and big things like that. We're trying to move about $34 million through loans and grants. We put $10 million into REAP, which is Rural Economic Action Plan. We put $10 million there for grants for water infrastructure and stuff like that in rural areas. And then there's also going to be a loan program. I'm thinking it's $24 million. It could be $34 million. I'm sorry, I don't remember my numbers exactly, but it's a lot of money. That's going to be put in there for low interest loans for communities, for counties, for rural water districts, and that, so that they can improve their infrastructure. These were built years ago, and so they're falling apart. And a lot of these, especially the rural water districts, is what really hits home to me. I mean, they're pulling water out of wells and they're losing it through the pipes and throughout all the system. And so by this, we're hoping to improve that infrastructure so that we can be more conscientious about our water. But that's the main emphasis that we put in the budget this year was water and education. Always education. Education takes 54% of your state budget. Now that doesn't pay for your school buildings and stuff like that. That's you guys take care of that. Ours is just the part as far as providing teachers and education. We now have extended the resource officers, which is your police officers at the schools, and providing that. We did have a 3-year plan on that. We realize that's a good thing, and so we are going to extend that. So every school will have appropriations for resource officers. Now, we also are going to be extending, not this, I don't know if it's this next year or the year after that, we will be extending the school year an additional week. Okay? We go to school more than 2 weeks less than all the states around us. And we wonder why we're 50th in education. Would the Thunder be as good a team as they are now if they practice 2 weeks less than everybody else? Probably not. So having them in the classroom, and we're also pushing that they're teaching up to the last day. Okay? That's another push. so that they're teaching up into that. And then also, one of the bills we passed this week was for additional enforcement on reading by third grade, with additional materials, additional screenings. So we're picking these kids up in first grade, second grade, the ones that are having problems, so we can get them up to third grade reading. If they're not at third grade reading level, they will be held back to third grade reading level. Okay? Now, you have your special circumstances. You have those that have special needs that aren't going to be able to get there. Okay? You have some that may move into your community to speak Spanish in the second grade. How likely are they to be at third grade reading level when they hit third grade? But those that are not making it that level, they're going to give additional tutoring and instruction and work with the parents on trying to emphasize reading and improve reading. So those are the things we're trying to do as far as in education, is emphasize on that. My favorite words are, up till third grade, you learn to read. Fourth grade and on, you read to learn. So if we don't teach them to read, we're going to lose them someplace along the way. And so we're not doing that. And so those are the two, I think, water, reading, and I'm going to get to questions here in just a minute. But if I can talk about one of my bills that I'm carrying on this, I've got a Senate bill, I've got a House bill on water, but the Senate bill that's coming across, I like even better than my own House bill. I hate to say that out loud, but I do. So what we're going to do on waters, as you guys know, I've been working on water for 4 years, okay? We had it at the governor's desk, and he vetoed it 3 years ago, I think it was. And so this year, I think we're going to get it across, because actually some of the enforcement money got put in the budget. So that makes you feel a little hopeful that they're actually considering that. So here's the deal. Here's the bill that I'm wanting to get across the finish line. It would allow 5-year averaging for those irrigators, have dry years, wet years, you can use a little more. They can use up to 150% of their allotment, but over the 5 years, they've got to stay within their allotment. And these are, now, let me back up. Can I back up for a minute? I'm sorry. I'm not talking about your house water. I'm talking about large permitted, people that get a special permit from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, okay? It's not talking about what we call domestic water. In fact, the Oklahoma Water Resources Board does not have control over your domestic water. That's your water. And we're not putting a meter on your water on that point. It's just those high volume users. And my new phrase is, what's the most precious resource in our lives? Water, right? So we get it. We measure everything else. We measure how many times you go to bat. We measure how many times you strike out. We measure how much fuel you use, right? When you go to the gas station, they don't just say, you just say, well, I'm going to get 10 gallons and go out and get it and go on and not have it measured. It's measured. Why would we not want to measure the most natural resource we have? And so that's my phrase. And that these, especially the highest users of that resource. And so that's why I'm concerned about that. But we're going to let's be smart about this. If some years they need a little more, we'll let them, as long as they average out. But also, this would require, especially since you're going to have a data center deal here, is that those data centers that use underground aquifer water could not use that for evaporation purposes, which means cooling, okay? Which is the ones that use the 1.5 million gallons, okay? This would mean they would have to use a closed loop system where they take, the water gets heated up, because that's what they're doing. Most water that's in a data center is for cooling the water, cooling the computer and everything, and the facility, keeping it at a certain temperature. So the water gets heated up, or they dissipate the coolness off the water, and then they send the water back down, which is hotter, run it through the ground, and the ground naturally cools it off again, and they bring it back. Okay? So it's a closed loop system. They would have to go to a closed loop system if they're gonna be over an aquifer, or they would have to use other means. They can use normal air conditioning, okay? We don't use a lot of water with central air conditioning. They can use that. We've also, just making sure that they're using water appropriately. Now, everybody that has water, that's what makes this a little harder, is because water in Oklahoma is the landowner's property, okay? So you say, well, that's my water. If I don't use all my water, on surface water, there is a deal where they will decrease your permit. This, in the bill, it will state, and it has never been done, that your permit would not be decreased. But as time goes on, we are looking at all the aquifers around here, studying them, and you're gonna see that the permits allowed for those that are coming into the system will be less. Right now, it started out at 2 feet acre, so it's you could use 2 foot of water for every acre you had. It wouldn't cover that. And I think you'll see it go to a foot, maybe a foot and a half, but I think it'll go down to a foot. So those new permit holders will have a lower target. So, because we're trying to make sure that we keep our water. And I mean, you guys say, well, he's tired of him talking about water, but I guarantee you, I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about my grandkids that live north of Alva. I want them to be able to raise a family in northwest Oklahoma. And that's where my heart is. So, all right. Now, yes, Todd.
So you talk about education, and I don't really care what percentage of our state budget goes to education, but we're going to increase the requirements of education and also increase the amount of days they go to school. I don't think we can do that without increasing the budget for education. On all education, whether it's elementary, whether it's a tech center, it's a higher education, we've got to figure out how to get more money into education. Somehow, some way, if that's teacher pay or if that's whatever it is. We can't be 50th in the nation and expect to attract businesses to Oklahoma.
Okay, but
Medicare expansion. Where do you stand on Medicare expansion? That's the most vital thing to northwest
Medicaid,
Oklahoma,
Medicaid
in rural
expansion.
America.
Medicaid expansion?
Where are you at?
I think we need to make sure we're doing it properly, okay? Let me give you this, right? So I'm gonna go back to the education part. Since I've been in office for 10 years, it's my 10th year, we have increased the education budget by 77%.
Is it making an impact?
It hasn't. That's why I think when we got in there this last time, we said, hey, you know, I'm sorry, I was there when they had the teacher walkout, okay? So it's interesting to me, we said, well, we're 49th in the state, and I had a sign down there on this, I got a picture of the walkout, somebody said, oh, 49th is not okay. Now we're 50. So we gotta do something different. It's not just throwing money at it. We gotta do something different, and that's why I'm big on making sure we read, because I think that's part of the key there, okay? And so, 77% increase in money we've given to schools and stuff like that. Now, Medicaid expansion, Medicaid, it's not all the Medicaid expansion, it's Medicaid, period. Medicaid is the best insurance you could have right now. There is no deductible, okay? Now, I mean, if you have private insurance, you know what a deductible is and all that, but they don't have that. Our idea here is if it does come to a state question, is to have some control. Take it out of the Constitution, make it statutory, so that we can have a little more control. The problem we had when we went into this deal, we were looking at putting the Medicaid expansion into the whole system as we had, but the governor was not having that, and the pushback, we couldn't get it across otherwise, so we went and did it commercial, okay? Now, we would like to be able to make those that are covered by Medicaid I think, more sensible reaction, okay? We're also trying, another bill I'm running, is try to get more money, more people going to the primary care doctor. Okay? So, if I'm sick and I'm on Medicaid, it doesn't cost me any more to go to the emergency room than it does if I go to the primary care doctor. Right?
Right.
Does it cost the health system more? Does it cost the state more? You bet it does. So why don't we put $25 deductible if you gotta go to the emergency room? Not make it so you can't afford it, but be reasonable. Put a little incentive. We're not gonna charge you to go to your regular medical doctor and get your blood pressure checked. I mean, if I got a cold and kind of feeling a little temperature, I don't need to go to the emergency room. I just need to go see the doctor and get fixed that way. Also, when I go in to see the doctor, what is he gonna do? He's gonna check my blood pressure. A lot of times they'll check your blood sugar, stuff like that. You're gonna pick up problems that can prevent things that could be long-term problems, right? Instead of ending up with a stroke or a heart attack or, diabetic retinopathy, anything like that. And so the idea is to move that so that we incentivize them to go to see their primary care doctor. Because it's shown that the more you go to the primary care doctor, the better outcomes you have in the long term. So I would say that was what our incentive is on taking it in the statute. Because right now, we have no control. And that was our goal initially, was to move them to the primary care doctor and make sure that's why. That's why you heard a lot of the Medicare stuff, they have a PCP. The primary care physician is the one that's in charge of them in the beginning.
Carl, I think that's a great idea to get them to go to their primary care provider.
Yeah,
So that they can do a more complete workup because the ER is not primary care
that's right.
driven. But what you're doing then is you're shifting that to a self-pay model for that $25. We can't get $5.
I know.
They're not going to pay the $25, so you're costing that to the hospitals
Well,
to
also-
collect that. It's not going to be collectible revenue.
So how much of your emergency room money comes? You actually get back
From
anybody?
From
Overall-
anybody?
Overall.
as a percentage of what we charge,
Percentage of what you charge?
Oh.
10%?
probably
10, 20%?
I would say 20%.
Yeah. And the bill that I'm looking at for next year is to do a clawback on those insurance companies. When they go in the emergency room, right, there's not a prior authorization, right?
Right.
That there would be a clawback so that they would have to pay for those coverage costs on the emergency room. So, yeah, we're trying to do that. I grant you, I'm trying to incentivize.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll leave you guys holding the bag, but we're just trying to incentivize them to go to the primary care doctor.
So there's no way to incentivize that with the existing structure of Medicaid as it is now?
Except through education, which is the biggest problem.
Yeah, education.
That we have to do is try to figure out how to educate those people so that they better understand the system.
Yeah, I mean and that's the problem. If I can, even if it's $5, I'm just saying, if things are tight, I'm gonna go where it's cheaper. And I'm just trying to help on that. That's our goal, is to do that, not to put you guys in a bind.
Well, but it will. If you repeal Medicaid, it is going to put us in a huge,
We're not repealing it.
it's going to put us in a huge,
We're just wanting to be able to make it so that we can make some tweaks to it. And what's in the Constitution, it's in the Constitution. So in other words, let's put it this way. We'll look at the expansion population. The expansion population, the federal government's paying 90% of that, and the state government's paying 10%. Pretty good deal. Standard Medicaid is what, 65-35? Isn't that right? 65-35? So if we expand, if the federal government says, hey, we're only gonna pay 65, the state's gonna pay 35, that's a $1.7 billion hit to the state of Oklahoma. Increase above the budget we have right now. The budget we just signed was 12.8. We just figured it out. We just did a 10% hit on our budget. Well, we're gonna take that out of it. We're gonna have to increase taxes or something like that. And so, or take it out of education or something. But I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, the long run, we need to be able to have some, I think, some tweaks with control of what's gonna come down the road. So that's our goal.
So your goal is not to repeal Medicaid as it stands?
No. It's just to be able to do some tweaks. That is why we're bringing it to a state question. The people will decide that. We are not deciding that. We cannot decide that. That has to be made by the people. And you're going to see some other state questions coming down the road. One I talked about on the radio earlier was that we're going to SJR 39, I think it is. Yeah, will be coming down, the constitutional amendment that would change, Lord, I don't know if that's it or no, it's not like me either. But as long as you own the property right now, it'd make Oklahoma the lowest increasing in ad valorem over the years. We did do a senior freeze, so it'd keep your property tax, ad valorem property tax, keep it frozen if you're a senior and within a certain income. We're going to do away with that, but what we're going to do is that on property tax, as long as you own it, instead of being a 5% max on your properties, it can only be increased 3% a year. Okay?
They changed that to 4.
Huh?
Just amended it to 4.
4. Yeah, there was an amendment change 4. But on the homestead, it goes right now with homestead and agricultural land is 3% and goes to 1.75. Now, it'll be less than that if you are low income. If you are at poverty level or below, it'll be 0 on your homestead. On your homestead, not on other properties you own. And then it goes up a little bit from that. I think the next step at 100% and 120% is 0.35%. So we're just trying to minimize. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a question. We're talking about getting more money and doing things to help education. But if we're going to lower this, most of that money goes straight to education, and it stays here in the county for our county education. How's that going to work? And I have one more question.
You'll answer that one or
Where are you going to come up with the money?
Get it big.
Where are you going to come up with the money to replace what we're taking away? I don't have a problem with, just where are we going to come up with the money to fill in that hole?
Here's what we're trying to get ahead of. There's an initiative petition to do what? Eliminate homestead. There would be no tax on homestead.
Right, and then where's
And
that
then what
money
we're
going to
gonna
come from?
And so we're trying to get ahead of that so that, if it goes through the court system, it comes. I mean, who wouldn't vote not to have to pay property tax on your home? You know what I mean? So we're trying to get ahead of that and say, we're going to have one of the lowest in the United States. And so we would like to keep it that way and not go down that road where we know there's a huge difference.
So do they have any idea where they're going to come up with the money that's going to be lost?
Yes, but I don't
But
know.
nobody's going to talk about it.
Not yet.
So they want us to vote to
They want
lose
us to
this
support
money,
it.
but we aren't going to know.
It's up to the vote of the people.
That's what I mean. We're going to vote to lose this, but we don't know where it's going to come back to get us on the backside.
It doesn't affect, I don't know.
Sorry.
There is a process. Yes,
I
sir.
think they need to understand too, it's a rural urban deal.
Yeah.
And so this tax freeze, tax changes, it affects all. If you do away with the homestead exemption, it's just gonna wreck county government, schools, everywhere. But these freezes affect rural Oklahoma significantly more than urban. And what I mean by that, if you own a home, you and I talked last night, you may own it for 25 years, 30 years. And so it's only gonna limit the growth, and then but when it sells, it'll revalue at fair cash value.
Yeah.
If you're in an urban area, it's home sale, they may be capped at those growth for 2 years, 3 years. Then they resell, they reprice at inflation. And so not as impactful. In rural Oklahoma, that freeze and those changes will domino significantly because we don't turn over real estate, agricultural land like they do in urban parts of the state. And so it's a real, we talk about services. We won't need as many services because if we close the schools, that's probably the largest employer in the town, in the county. So those people are gonna have to move urban. So we won't need as many hospitals, grocery stores, all that. 'Cause half of us won't be here, and we're gonna be living in Enid, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, because all the employers are here.
I know, I'm just saying, that's why it's being brought to the people. I'm not making that decision, it will be brought by the people, so.
Carl, what about your bill, how does it handle property, like ag property that may already be in a trust? And generationally, how does that work?
I don't think we know exactly how that's gonna, I think all this is gonna be tested by the courts as it goes down, but I think if it's in a trust, I don't think it changes as long as it stays in the same trust. Am I correct, Aaron?
I mean, as far as that ground, or that entity repricing, it's gonna be living at the caps, Kim, as I
Right,
understand it. So
that's where I'm getting with it.
That house would be capped at.
If it stays in a trust, and this says the personal property owner, so I don't know. I will find that out, I will have an answer for you.
That would be fantastic,
Okay.
because that's also an element
Yeah.
of, everybody's gonna go stick their land in trust after this.
Right.
So, heck, I'd retitle my house.
Everybody compares, I talked to my staff about this bill when it first came out. As I was going to Fairview, I saw Florida was talking about the same exact piece. We aren't Florida, and how we generate revenue, tax services, there's a lot of second homes owned in those places. Anyway, we're not like every other state that's considering this, that we can't be first in services and last in ad valorem and taxes, because they go hand in hand. And oil and gas, I mean, we can talk about that, you and I have, but it's that, and Ned and I talked, the reduction, Senate Bill 27, that has been signed.
237?
Yeah, has been signed by the governor, is going to exempt oil and gas pipelines, gathering lines, flow lines.
We're opposed to that, but I mean, I only get one vote out of 101.
I know you do, but people need to realize that is going to affect rural Oklahoma significantly.
But not all the assessors were evaluating it on the same method.
I don't know, I mean, I can't speak intelligently on that, but
I mean,
I trust Renetta's comments, and I don't know if that's happening in Woods County like maybe in the town.
All right, now you guys have got me. What else?
I got another question, and it's not on the same subject.
Oh, good.
How do you feel about them wanting to change the county boundaries? I don't understand.
Basically off the rivers,
Yeah,
of the rivers. Okay, I mean, so let's say I am supposedly in Woods County. I'm thinking of a river, Cimarron River, right? So the county boundaries change. I'm paying taxes and stuff to this ambulance service, or this county, or for that. When I'm on the south, the river changes and I'm on the south side. So then, is that fair for me to be paying property taxes to Woods County when I'm really in Major County? But it's going to be assessed every 25 years, is that what?
I don't know, because there's 4 bills out there about it, so
Yeah.
I
doubt
don't
if any of them are gonna
understand why
really
we
fit.
want to change something that's already set like it has been for years. Why do we want to mess with it, and who's going to pay for all the surveying and the mapping and getting everything changed, that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, mapping will be less expensive now than it used to be, but I don't think it's gonna be changed. I don't think any of them are gonna make it across the finish line. The house will.
Ben B. Buckley.
Oh, me?
I guess we're done.
No, we're not done, we're not done, we're not done. I just have to move the equipment to the other room, and there's really no cute way to do that.
That's huge.
My 80th annual Winoka Rattlesnake Roundup Sunburn Nose leads the charge here. So I got to take the microphone, but you don't need one. Finish out, you got great questions here, buddy.
Okay.
Talk about working without a net.
Thank you. All right. Other questions? Well, really, I mean. All right, Ben leads.
Hey, as far as education,
Let me take this off.
and then going into the medical side of that. I think science needs to be a little bit higher on our priority list too, and health and wellness, human body, how it works. You don't have to go to the doctor for every single sniffle. Eating healthy, exercising can greatly diminish that lower income necessity to go to the doctor so often. I think that could be prioritized, so that trickles down and helps.
It was kind of funny that I don't know if they staged it, but there was a school group in there, and we added 20 minutes more of recess for elementary kids, kindergarten, fifth grade. Back when I was a kid, we were always out doing something. I'm sorry, I mean, we were always out doing stuff. A lot of these kids now aren't out doing things, and so that additional time, I mean, I was talking to a good friend of mine, that additional time of exercise, I think is good for the brain. I mean, it gets some, some of the kid, one of my good friends is a legislator, his wife is now taking her son on a mile walk before he goes to school, so he can settle in and do what he needs for study. So we did add 20 minutes. It has nothing to do with science, but we also are increasing time in math. I don't know if we can do science, but we're trying to make math also be learned, so to give those basic skills. I mean, basics, we're trying to do the basic, reading, writing, and the.
So how is that dictated now? Is the recess time now dictated by state?
I think they said it would increase it to 40 minutes a day.
Yes, 20 minutes is.
But currently, is it already dictated by state?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer for sure, but I know we're increasing it.
Carl, what about certified teachers? We've got emergency teachers that are like, because we can't find them. And so maybe that's part of the drive towards the bottom.
Okay, let me ask you a question. You tell me how we can get more teachers in there.
Well, I mean, since I'm married to one, you're not going to get them unless you pay them, period.
That's right.
If I could be a science teacher and then I can go to a lab and make way more money, that's a no-brainer in this economy.
I mean, also, you're talking, that's why we've been working on pay increase. That's, I mean, like
No, I
I said,
hear what you're
we're
saying.
getting 4 teacher pays.
But don't think this is a pay increase this year because we've extended the school day. We're paying for the additional days, we're requiring.
Okay, I gave 3 other pay increases, but we didn't increase the school.
I hear that, I do. I'm just saying.
I don't know where I stop. I mean, I've got a limited budget.
It has to be outcomes. You have to tell them what your expectations for outcomes are.
I mean,
And meet
I
those.
personally,
I think your core, and mine doesn't teach core, but I think your core teachers need paid
and they got,
accordingly. If you're gonna teach science, math, reading, and English, I think that schedule might need tweaked. Do you see what I'm saying? That's where our priorities lie.
I'm just telling you, we do with the best we can with what we got.
I agree with that, but I'm just,
I mean, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be a teacher
agree.
because I don't have the patience.
I agree. Same.
All right, I think everybody's leaving. We got to end the meeting, so, hey, thank you very much.